All right, well, it's going to be a game to go the distance to be kicking off this series here in the lower bracket. One that didn't necessarily look like it was going to go that way to be kicking things off. I mean, YFPX, they had a strong start, but Rupees, Athena, they found an opening, they found their window, and we're going to take the first map.
All I'm saying is right now our power rankings are in dire trouble because this is not what we expected at all. I mean, YFP, they were up 12-5. They had this insane lead, but they just couldn't close out. And Oomfies, they really kept it oh my god, I can't even speak, I'm speechless. They kept it so cool, calm, and collected that they didn't even care. Every single time on their defense side, just felt like they were so confident in everything, regardless of Corrupt dropping literally over 30 kills, fans.
That's the thing. I mean, you have two players, as the casters are mentioning, Dr. Dre, that they were so close at dropping 30 each. They had like 20 kills each in like 8 rounds or something, right? And Corrupt and Marceline, and that's just them showing how good they were on the defensive side, where for me, quite honestly, it was just unfortunately just not the best approach that either team had on their attack side. For one end, you do understand on the playstyle of Oomfies, they're not playing with any flashes. That's something that actually coins their playstyle, so it's always like a 4-1 deathball kind of thing. But when you're playing against a Yoru and these one-ways are being thrown out at the same time on the defensive side, you can't trade as quickly as you want to. So it was really rough for them. But then on the other end, when you're watching for YFP, they looked like they wanted to close that game very quickly. So you went from 4 spies to 4 spies and being overconfident. And unfortunately, that just bit you in the behind because you just got the energy curse by getting the 12-5 lead and losing to Cloud9 on the OT. That's just unfortunate.
I mean, like, you can literally see at the bottom of the screen, too, how both teams were so successful on their defense side because of that double Sensi setup, because of being able to quickly rotate and get as much information as possible. But the attack sides, just like you said, they were not it. Both these teams were just struggling to be able to break enough util to get into sites, to be able to fake, make plays, take as much map control as they wanted to, literally just because of both of these comps going crazy. And honestly, it was a little bit harder to watch because of it all going back and forth, fans.
And that's the thing, when we had the timeout being called by YFP after realizing that hit after hit towards the B site was getting denied, the timeout was like, okay, well, let's try towards the A side, still somehow try to throw a fake towards B. But the fake wasn't really the Silva running towards the B side to Owl Drone to really pull the rotate. You just went for a recon that bounces, double bounces into main. So nobody's going to move. So you're still moving into a full util that's set towards the A site, and then boom, you get boomed. Or how Dr. Dre again would say, you get cooked. So it's just unfortunate, and thankfully there's still tenacity on one end, though, from Oomfies to be able to fight back the way that they did and to maintain their composure that it's never over until it's really over. So the 12-5 scoreline, fighting back. Like I said, they won the map veto in their way to at least get Ascent in their favor and get rid of the strong mats of YFP in the bans. So there's an opportunity for an upset now in the second map.
I mean, you know what's crazy too is when you're looking at all these score lines, you can just tell that on the Oomfie side, everyone has played together. They all did their jobs. They all had the fragging potential and they all put it out there. Whereas for YFP, yes, you have these two players, one near 30, one over 33, but the rest of the 3 players, they were going a little bit behind. And it just wasn't as much as a team effort. Rather, it looked more like heroic plays going back and forth from YFP. And at the end of the day, you can't just win with one person going crazy. I mean, unless you're Emlo and Aluvali, obviously.
Or at least Corrupt at the beginning of the game. But the OT in itself, though, it was just a brawl back and forth as well when you just saw how Oomfies was able to win the last 2 rounds that brought them towards that victory. There wasn't anything that was really big in terms of like a full set execute. It's just everybody's pushing in, getting kills, and they're just winning those fights.
I think the biggest takeaway, too, looking back at it is, yeah, both teams on the defense just amazing, but it was a Marceline and a Corrupt that was able to set the pace from the get-go, getting these picks off mid, Marceline especially, too, with those ops and the outlaw shots, whereas when we'll go to the opposite end, it's YFP pushing onto the site, and Oomfies just collapsing on them, and going back to a couple of the rounds, because YFP, they were on match point for a while, but Athena, they got to the attacking end, and it was a struggle area for both teams, sure, but YFP, it kind of just seemed like they were bashing their head up against the wall and just kept pushing these sites and being collapsed on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see they literally couldn't even make it past that initial choke point, past that main. Like, they literally were just coming out, but immediately getting shut down with the amount of util, the ults coming in, the super quick rotate as well from the deadlock on Oomfie's carry, being there every single round whenever they executed, just because all of their util was always up across the map. They had so much information, so much utility down for them to know. And then as well, Avery really stepping it up towards the end of this game here. I think Avery, we talked about them earlier before the match even started, but seriously a standout player for the end of this match, because as a controller managed to be a little bit sneaky. We just saw in that last clip, being able to play the map, getting into wine, abusing the fact that you were never cleared, and not being afraid to sit in those aggressive spots regardless of being down one map from winning. Like, it's just such a confidence play, and Oomfies, they really deserved to win out in this overtime.
Yeah, and talking back to this map pick, this was Oomfie's map pick. So we're talking a lot about like YFP, and they could have closed out, and they should have won. At the same time, this was a map that they've been struggling on very recently. They had this big composition switch, and it wasn't their pick, and they almost did close it out. Now going on into the series, we are going over to Icebox, which is their pick, but this one's a fun one because looking back, we haven't really gotten to see from either of these teams what they're cooking up here, Thea. So this is fun. I don't know what quite to expect.
I mean, literally after that first map, my brain is all frazzled because I'm just like, that should not have happened. 12-5, and then all of a sudden it's overtime and Oomfies is winning. And now we're going into this map where exactly what you said, Sierra. We don't know what comps these teams are going to be playing. Neither of these teams recently have shown Icebox as part of their map pool. They haven't played it. They haven't even let it go through in the map picks. It's just hasn't been played for them. So this is a map where you need to be confident. Icebox, it's all about aiming. It's all about making sure you can get into these sites and get the frags and make sure you abuse those rotations. And watching YFP play on their attack side now, I'm a little bit scared for them. I'm going to be honest. I feel like the way that they're playing, the way that they were supposed to be playing was what I expected for them to be pushing forward, be aggressive, and win out for Icebox. But now I'm like, dude, I don't know. Oomfies has been pretty aggressive and pretty good with their map control too.
Yeah, to start things off, when YFP came with this M80 comp, I was like, hey, this is going to look pretty good, especially in how they were playing their defense. But after seeing how they were playing their attack, I wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing Marceline back towards a Jet, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see them just play more into a comfort role instead of playing off meta. Oomfies, we have never seen him play Icebox, but even for YFP, we haven't seen it since GC2. There is an opportunity to pull out something new, but as you just mentioned here, Athena, it's a map that allows you to duel a lot. So you're probably going to have to put those duelists on that main Jet role and potentially even go for double duelists to start fighting.
Hey, Marceline was absolutely popping off even on the Euros. I'm okay with the Jet, but we'll get into the agent select and finally get a look at what these teams have going for Icebox. Oomfies one away from closing out the series, getting the upset.
Ooh.
Both are absolutely cooking. Everyone's a chef out here, Athena. This is all right. Let's go.
I think we definitely are cooking. I mean, I feel like on the YFP side, this is somewhat meta. I think it's a little hard to not have any agents that can take a lot of verticality, getting that Jet or getting that Omen to be able to get on top of things really easily, be able to kind of abuse that long B position, get the space that you need. But Marceline on the Reyna, that means they're trying to play aggressive. That's the bottom line here. They're trying to just hold W and get into sites. But at the same time, you have the ISO on the other side. Again, this isn't necessarily a defensive comp, but also an aggressive comp. The Clove, the ISO, they're also these whole W agents. I think it's going to be super interesting to see which team just has the confidence to close it out.
Oh, we got some fun duelists ahead of us. This should be a super fun Icebox, but the stakes could not be higher. YFP, one map away from potentially getting eliminated, and Oomfies, they have the opportunity to go for that upset. Can YFP bounce back? We'll have to find out. Back over to our casters now for Icebox.
Baby Doug.
All right.
He always has to sneak something in there, huh? Like,
Dog, you gotta chill. We've got a Reyna. We have a freaking ISO. We've got all sorts of nonsense. You're not focused on the right things, Van Silly, Blur Silly, Pixel Silly, whatever you want to call it. We got to focus on what's going on here. This Icebox is going to be a mess. Dre, your thoughts?
It'll be a mess, but I'm kind of leaning on Carry here, because Carry, has some of the craziest ISO stats I think I have ever seen. Like, I'm talking about like a 1.66 KD in the last 90 days, a 1.45 rating, 300 plus ACS, 200 ADR. I mean, these are like heavy hitting stats. And it's going to be the head-to-head. It's going to be the ISO versus the Reyna. Which one is going to come out on top? I think it's going to be as simple as that. I mean, obviously it won't be, but in my head, that's what I'm envisioning.
I mean, if that's what you want, that's what we'll talk about.
That is what I want.
I mean, I'm with you.
I want it.
We'll highlight that matchup for sure. YFP on the attacking side. All eyes on the Reyna. Marceline was a menace on the Yoru. We'll see if they can replicate that success.
Spike down A.
On different footing. You mentioned Carrie. Carrie's already getting involved in the action, but every single one of these kills have gone tit for tat, traded every step of the way. Now down to 2s. Elaborate. 40 HP. Kind of on the outside looking in. And Panda's going to have to win this 1v2 from a distance. With a classic and now 3 HP, this is borderline impossible.
Yeah. Nora just running away with things once the dust settled onto the actual site. Those last 2 shots were clean, and the confidence that I saw as well, it looks like they had a little bit of a prep talk. Yo, guys, it's okay. Don't worry about what happened last map. Yeah, it could be hard to, get past something like that, but we're not out of this quite yet, And that's what we're seeing. Sometimes certain players can take a loss like that and it could fuel them, because Nora seemed a little bit shaky on the last map, a little bit unconfident in her own play. So seeing this, especially on the KO, working up towards that ultimate is going to be something that you want in order to, get a lot of these rounds on the attacking side.
That's a deep line Melly's holding. They're going to walk right into a crosshair too. Oh, that was Prius. That had to have been Prius. There's no way we turned away from a kill like that if it wasn't Prius.
Yeah. Either way, good patience here on the default. And this is something that wasn't working for them on Ascent, but that's because of just the way that map works. The defensive side, if you give them too much time and you don't break the setup early on, it could just be damning to you when you actually do the execute. It's quite the opposite. You can really afford to wait for the rechargeables to go down. And just get
going
fixed, honestly.
Yeah, they're going off this. Avery's the only one on the site. With lighter weaponry, all crisis averted. Well, at least, all right, one was found. But Avery's still alive, was listening to the mess that was happening around him.
Okay, no shoes here.
Yeah, surely. There are only so many places they could be in that position. Right. YFP get their second round so far following the script of Ascent.
Yeah, it's looked pretty good so far on the attacking side. We've seen an A hit off the rip and then a slow default working against the anti-eco. So this bonus round is where you're going to see maybe things shake up a bit. Maybe something crazy towards that B side of the map that hasn't been touched quite yet.
You've got the standard Viper wall headed that way for the attack. And now, again, some better weaponry. The Outlaw in the hands of Elaborate, too. Orb picked up by Scary Shark, now 2 away from having the ult online. And Spike still sitting back in spawn.
Yeah, super slow approach. It's really smart the way that YFP have been approaching this. They have complete and utter map control right now. They have pretty much all of B. Once they break this alarm bot as well, if Corrupt decides to, would give even more info, but they had most of close of A. They had all of B. That alarm bot not being broken, though, is something that is going to be overlooked for YFP. This allows Oomphies to stack the A site. Not have to worry too much about that B at all. Had it been broken, this A hit would be the perfect call.
They're still leaning this way. 3 members of the defense are here. Start to see some of the smokes go up. The mosh goes out and the utility coming through. That's going to be the cue. They know that the hit's headed this way. Kill already coming through on a Corrupt. This bonus would be huge if they can convert, but again, when you're pushing into all of the utility here and all of the presence, I don't know how you convert it. And you can't.
Yeah, it was a good entry from the start of the round, but it just looks like Oomfies, they play off of each other so well on the actual site when they're anchoring. Carry's getting picks from heaven. It's something that was working really well in the pistol round, but it was just Scary Shark that ended up, you know, turning the tide, so to speak, in that specific round. But Carry now has that ISO ultimate online, and the only response on the other end is Scary Shark. That KO ultimate.
A little bit of a tag already. So some presence found.
It was a tag, but Avery using that little one-way smoke in nest to block out the heaven angle so it doesn't connect on her. Allows her to get all that info in the actual A main. That's an audio cue I think that was heard right now from the side of YFP. That little drop right there.
Drone getting a little bit of info here. Thing is only spotting the KJ though. So I wonder if they start to lean back towards B given who they saw.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a retake on this B site. And Panday, she's gonna really have to bide her time, anchor, turtle up in the back of sight, hope that she doesn't get overwhelmed. There's so many flashes in play for the side of YFP. They can really opt to push all the way to snow if they really want to.
It's a flash simulator.
Yeah.
And they haven't. Oh
No way.
How does Panda get away with that? Delaying things for just a moment. There is no other help though. We got the ult used by Carry. Even with the capsule, Scary Shark gets the kill. But they got the spike down. Elaborates on a really nice timing. That's a crispy shot onto Supercat. 1 kill found. YFP looking really nice this round.
Yeah, they look like they're set up to convert this round into a win, especially with that security of Elaborate on the late flank in kitchen. Whoa, what's happening right now?
Hang on.
What's happening right now?
This should not be getting this close. Oh. Sometimes the spray just hits, man. That was way too close.
4v2 to 2v2 with one of your players doing a late flank. It really came down to the wire, it felt like. And Panday, I think it was smart kind of going for that, but you saw the consequences of your Killjoy dropping early in a moment like that. All of a sudden, Elaborate is able to just lurk all the way through mid, secure a kill in the back, and then, you know, close out the round with that late spam right there. But, I mean, given the situation, Oomfies, they almost made it work, but now their economy is absolutely in shambles right now. They're wishing that they won that last round.
With the outlaw in hand, Marceline 1 away from having the ult. And a slow creep out towards A. You saw a little bit of mid presence from Supercat. But nothing really else. This stack towards A is insane.
It's especially insane because the Killjoy alarm bot is just, I mean, it's just open on B, but there's nobody from YFP to see that. So they're not aware that there's a stack right here. Ooh, almost getting spammed. Carry. That is the shield pop, though.
They're giving up a lot of this space. You're starting to see a couple of members of Oomfies rotate back towards mid. Corrupt is going to find a little bit of space. No real idea that Supercat's on the prowl. Oh, yep, that'll work. Now they realize mid is not safe. The ping's coming through on the minimap, and that's going to force them to head back towards A. And again, it's back into the majority of the Oomfies defense.
You say that, but they're actually overthinking it.
30 seconds
Again?
left.
With that one orb going up, Oomfies are all rotating towards that B site, thinking that there's a lurk all the way through. But YFP have a free A site now, and they're set up so aggressively.
This one might be the one that got away from them. 13 seconds left. They were able to delay and deny the plant for just a moment, but now finally planted. Panday down. Elaborate up close with a flash in their face. Still repositioned. Somehow gets a second. They've opened up the site now. 2v2 as the spike ticks away. Scary Shark, yes, weak HP.
Enemy remaining.
But settles. Terror down. It's all into Carry now. A Guardian in hand. Light armor. 1 spotted. Again, remember the health on Scary Shark. Melly is not much better off. But the one benefit they have is time. And so Carry is going to have to do this so cleanly. And Carry does.
Absolutely ridiculous. The 1v2, I mentioned it early on. The ISO stats of Carry are out of this world. Some of the highest I've ever seen. out of any player. And this is why. Not only can she win clutches, she can get entries. And that was a must-needed round for the side of Oomfies to get back into things. All things considered, I mean, it's not bad. Had they lost this round, things start getting a little dicey. But now they can build up their own economy. And honestly, they put a big wrench in the economy of YFP. Look at that. I mean, you have a player with Viper Ultimate sitting on a sheriff, has to buy a Bulldog light armor. It's less than ideal.
Again, utility up. A little bit more respect shown towards the rest of the map here from Oomfies. You hear the turret across, again, the aforementioned space. Supercat watching window. Turret cleared. There's no punish. You saw an attempt from Supercat, but it was just a second late. But that change, getting the turret down, doesn't really force anything out from Oomfies.
Doesn't, but it does have to basically make a player have to stay in mid for the entirety of the round, or so it will feel like. Because now you have to be worried about it at all times. I mean, you have 2 players right now, maybe even a third, which is going to be
Swing
that
and a miss.
Sova.
Avery tries to punish. Corrupt wins that fight out. A 1-for-1. They're making a whole lot of noise towards A, but the spike is headed in the opposite direction. How much more will they bite on this? And he's the only one back towards B. And the utility should be going off. They see the alarm button now is now triggering. And now they're rotating back. But Panda's still going to be here alone here for a while. Choosing to fight into the wall. Dies, and that's going to secure the spike plant.
It's madness. It's absolute madness, Doug. It's just, why not wait for your team? You're up 4v3, and now it's a 2v3.
Yeah, not even that, but fighting through the decay. Either way, it's a 2v2 now. They're going to use the ISO wall. Carry almost getting punished. Melia is able to settle the shots, though, leaving Terror on their own. And that's another round for YFP.
It was just crazy. The whole round was crazy. You had all of A site, but the spike is running B. And then you had players of Oomfies that re-cleared A, and then you had players trying to fight B as well. It was just a battle across the map, essentially. There was so much going on that didn't really fit together. But YFP made it work.
That's going to give them a 2-round lead. They have 3 ults to play with here. Oomfies have a couple of their own. But what they don't have is weapons. And you see them investing that nano to clear the turret that's been across mid for the majority of this half, but it's not here this time.
I was about to say the weaponry is not here this time either, but Supercat still makes it work with that pick on to elaborate.
That's one down.
Now you have 4 players geared up here. This time the setup of that Killjoy. See Panday playing a little bit more aggressively towards that B, making sure that all that info is gathered so this A stack can actually just stay and hold. And without anybody else going mid here for YFP to relieve some pressure on the A side, it's going to be a 4v4.
I feel like this has been a lot of what we've seen is them pushing into the majority of the numbers of the defense. But again, the weaponry not great, but that's another kill found. Tuck now. That's another one coming through.
Oh my goodness.
As Marceline's now down, they still have 2 rifles, yes, and they are still rifles, but they're losing numbers in ways you wouldn't expect them to be. Off of the flash, Terror now down, Melly's left alone. A 1v3, Supercat down to 20 HP. A stiff breeze, but it does not matter. A thrifty round for Oomfies to get to 3.
This constant back and forth is just blowing my mind right now. It's just, and it's all just off of mechanics, really. I guess this time around, though, for Oomfies, like I stated, Panday, getting that deep B line gives all the players at A a little bit more confidence to sit and hold that setup. And Avery actually had a huge moment with that one-way coming up that blocked off the player, that blocked off Marceline from getting the pick on the top screen. It blocked all the space from Jen. It's like little micro things like that make a difference when you're anchoring these sites. Back
to hitting towards A. 1 rifle in the hands of Melia. is interesting, given how close Corrupt and Scary Shark are to having their ults, but that's the approach that they want to go with. And after getting a little bit of resistance towards A, they decide to throw the thing in reverse, get a kill out, but they might try to flip the map here. Start to see some of that utility come through as they rotate back towards the middle of the map. Avery is going to get a timing. Oh, Avery almost had a timing, but Scary Shark was a step ahead of it.
It's an important player down right now. That's been an integral piece of anchoring the A site. Now, keep in mind, it is Clove, so maybe those smokes can still reach towards A.
Should cover most of the site. You see Carry playing all the way back in Spawn.
30 seconds left.
Supercat now joining the fray. As again, eyes turn towards A. So to see the pings on the minimap. There's enough time here where Elaborate can drop the ult. If there's enough safety here, if there's enough comfort.
Yeah, and why not? Because then you can get the Viper's Pit online as well. But it's the reverse that's happening, and Nora holding it down as well. This should
go with the pit first.
Yeah, this should be a secured round right now. And this carry can go crazy.
Well, that's one. What can Panday do? Full armor and a rifle in a 1v2. And you have to navigate the pit.
So tough.
But they drop it.
Yeah.
Wanting to just take the fight, not have to deal with the spam mess. Start to see some of that Clove utility come through. It's half the spike. No bullets fired, but utility dumped in. And that falls down to a 1v1. A tuck from Panday. The swing out from Scary Shark. And the kill delivered for Oomfies.
I cannot believe it again. A 1v2. Once more. This time it's Panday, who's honestly hasn't been seeing much action at all towards that B site, playing Retake Simulator, it's felt like, for the last couple of rounds. But to connect on those shots, you just gotta think, why drop the Viper's Pit? Why not play in? It's a bit of a blunder from the side of YFP, who so meticulously worked into that A site. And it just felt like they had all the stops covered, but just dropping the ball at the very last moments there. Oh my goodness. It's still a very competitive half, though, as we're all tied up going into the 9th round.
Those are rounds that stick with you, though, man. Those are the ones that you know you should have won.
Yeah.
And when they'll start to mount like that and you lose multiple 1vx situations, you really probably shouldn't have. That has a lasting impact on the situation. Crash has been used to go through. Marceline's able to get the best of Panday, the tip of the spear. And now continuing. But instantly close on from Avery. That's a really nice shot. The off angle proves to be the demise.
The follow-up as well, everywhere on the map. The lurk has now been taken out, and what was once a nice entry onto the E site for YFP, it's turned to complete and utter disaster. Carry swinging back around yellow, going for the pre-firing. She will connect, Doug.
What can Melia do in a 1v4 in a spot like this? Avery's just going to stick the defuse. No real way for Melia to provide any resistance. And Oomfies take the lead.
It's brutal right now, the side of YFP. That entry from Marceline, she got taken so low by that Killjoy Molly, but since that Viper wall wasn't up, Panday thought that it was safe. Oh, surely they're not swinging sight. And that was the entry gain, but hunting for more, that's a lot of problems that Reyna players have. And, you know, it's feast or famine. Either you're dropping 30 when you're playing that type of way, or you're going to get punished going 1-for-1 quite often.
Right.
And that is not what you want in a moment like that. And that's why you see this timeout from YFP. Maybe trying to slow things down when you're up that numbers advantage. Trying to play your win conditions a little bit more.
This feels much earlier than what we saw on Ascend. And obviously not just because of the score, but when you think about the cadence of the game, they're throwing the brakes on this way, way, way sooner. Trying to salvage this. You've got an eco, what looks like is likely going to be an eco for YFP. So a gun into the rifle round into the next. And again, the need for a thrifty.
Yeah. And who knows? This timeout could be to cook something up for the thrifty round. I mean, you do have that lockdown to work with. You do have that Reyna ultimate to work with. But usually when coaches take a timeout at a time like this, it's for the following gun round when you actually can have full util, you can have, you know, full armor, full weaponry across the board, just an arsenal of things to work with. But we'll see. I mean, you could still cook something up for this, maybe a cheeky little mid to B strat or something to just try to enable Marceline to get another rifle upgrade for one of your members.
Yeah, I mean, Guardian, no armor. You want to, yeah, be able to heal up and try to take this fight. That's exactly what Marceline's doing right now. But Supercat's position is really nice, and they're not going to expect it. There's Marceline down. Melia not finding much more success. Weapon upgraded, though.
Speaking of someone who's been really nice, I mean, Carry has been absurd in the server.
Avery's popping the ult. Boomfie's still. I don't know that I would say comfortable in the round, but they're in the round and they still have an advantage on it. Got to settle those shots, and that's a big one out from Elaborate. Panday falling, and now numbers tied up at 2 apiece. Elaborate left in the 1v2 with 11 HP. Hang on, that shot was filthy, and now the ult down, the weapon upgraded. But Carry's aggressive swing secures the round.
Yeah, the swing through the one-way. Both these teams on the eco routes have been proven to just be complete nuisances. I mean, that came down to a 1v1 with what looked like it was just going to be just routes. Every single time Boomfies have been on their eco as well, it's a similar story. It's just been a brawl. This map has been an absolute brawl of, you know, who really shines with their mechanics, who can pull together and string together the most amount of multi-kills. 15-7, Doug. Another isomet. Another ISO ultimate online. Wait a second. I just cooked. Isomet?
Isomet? Yeah, I might pick that up. That's much easier to say. Good night. Okay. Turns out Marceline can still shoot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Once this spike gets tapped, it's going to be the ISO ultimate online, though. Here comes the 1v1 on somebody. It doesn't matter who. Oh, maybe revenge here.
Maybe, but it's... Oh, not again. Oh,
No
not
way.
again. Ah.
No
What a
way.
brutal way to lose that again.
There's no way, Doug.
The spike has been planted and the ult's now out, but it seems like the utility might... Nope. Not going to clear it out, so the lockdown has to be respected. The space has to be given up. And that spike has been ticking for a little while. Off of the tap, utility comes through, the spam connects. It did not even get half. And they've invested the pit on this as well. This is very aggressive. Scary Shark's gotten 4. Avery's going to try to get the swing, but can't settle the shots. A 4K for Scary Shark. And that's a round for YFP.
Last round.
It was so close. Avery just couldn't control the spray right there at the end. Scary Shark. The 1v1s in the ISO Ultimate have proven to be, I don't know, a heaven sent?
Yeah, go on.
A heaven sent? I mean, if Scary Shark gets taken out right there by Carry, that 4K doesn't come through.
Yeah.
That round is the way of Boomfies. And you're sitting at, what, 7-4 in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
But the heroics from Nora in this game have been insane. She's been firing at all cylinders.
They're trying to speed things up here. They've invested the ult. Supercat's dead. And it seems like a 6-6 might be on the cards. Unless Oomfies can do something to try to change these tides. And that might do it. That's certainly going to do it. Leaving Melia in a 1v3. With Spike out of reach, the Viper wall goes down. Ducking and tucking behind the box. And so the drone does not get any info. The wall goes up. The wall, second wall goes through. Carry's waiting on the other side, drops it willingly, almost snaps onto the last, but Terror saves the day. A 7-5 half for Oomfies.
It was close. It was close. You saw the potential there. Melia with the flick to the right. It just couldn't connect. Too wide of a flick, honestly. And Terror had a terror of a round right there, getting 3. All headshots as well. Helping out the anchor. Panday yeah, she might only be sitting at 4, but the kill that she secured in mid to basically deny that fast mid to B and just getting overwhelmed in the first place, it was very, very impactful. So it just goes to show that even the players that are sitting at the bottom of the scoreboard for a lot of these teams, they have immense impact in terms of the type of kills that they're getting and converting.
Right there.
What can Oomfies do on this attack side here? Can they put this series away? Can they stay alive in this tournament? We talked about it at the beginning, Dre. YFP were heavily favored.
It's crazy.
We talked about the likelihood of a 2-0 the way of YFP. But lo and behold, this is where we sit.
The way that the map picks and bans went, it kind of felt like YFP was the one that was taking more of a risk, and it's something that you're not really supposed to do usually when you're the stronger team on paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you play it's maybe not safe, but you play it confidently to your strengths.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So,
Again, another narrow timing.
yeah, that would have been bad. All B space gathered right now for these.
They're giving it back up.
And it's honestly such a smart way to approach this map, but it's a little bit too late into the round to be doing something like this, I believe. You kind of have to commit A, so if Carry doesn't get anything going here at this B site and just drops early, it's going to be a heavy rotate. But are they going to
I think
30 seconds.
they might. Part of the issue is how long this is taking, too. Carry's not taking any space, so there's no real threat. They are going to try to mid to B.
cool
There's going to be a
close.
little bit of help, yes, but elaborate with a lot to do. Tucked in the smoke, the goop over the top. Terra and Panda are able to get a couple. There's the counter punch.
Spike planted.
But again, how much more can YFP do? They've got to try to navigate through this. Terra's left alone. A 1v2, make that a 1v1. Marceline, a sheriff. Terror 74 HP. There's the tap. We're calling the bluff. Marceline on the swing and on the kill. YFP get to 6.
Wow. This is so crazy. Comes down to a 1v1. And honestly, the shots that Scary Shark is hitting right now, with the pre-firing on top of it, yeah, let's watch it over. That was crazy. So much value. I mean, getting 2 and then getting the dink on the actual site player, and then this wide swing off of a timing from Marceline as well to win the 1v1. I mean, let's be honest. It's a disadvantage to go up against a Reyna, let alone a Reyna with full armor and a Sheriff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the job's difficult enough as it is. The drone clearing a little bit of space back towards B. Spotting the alarm bot, but that's it. They're going to try to push their way up anyway.
Only one member of Oomfies breaking that KO dagger, so not a lot of info gathered from the side of YFP, but they're more than willing to just play this very, very safely on both sides of the map. It's just pretty much taking the long-range angles. With that Viper wall going down, though, that causes the protocols of YFP to start investing some of that utility to delay.
Should be able to get the spike down here. No real resistance. Never mind. That almost went the other way. But spike still goes down. Carry and Panday. Gonna try to hold them back here, and they can't. That's another round the way of YFP.
Yeah, just too many enemies that you're faced with. Carry trying her absolute best with the ISO shield popped and the upgraded weaponry. But it's a tough composition to run up against, especially with YFP taking their time there and playing as a cohesive unit of their own. Like I said, you have 3 different sets of flashes that you can deal with on this retake. You have a KO dagger that can give you info on where the post plant is actually being played. It's a scary thing to go up against when you don't get as many picks as you would like from the side of Oomfies. And
yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, and for all the viewers out there, it's something to look out for in the future rounds. How are Oomfies going to deal with this, retake style that YFP is probably going to be playing most of the half?
They're getting the orb for Corrupt. Now 1 away from their ult. and the deep knife, and that's instantly going to cause to rotate through. I think those 2 bits of info were enough to convince him that the hit's headed towards B. And so they're trying to get there as fast as they can. And fortunately for them, Moonfies haven't taken all the site yet. This is still within range.
Look at the different sets of mollies, the lineups that are coming through from YFP. And now, if you want to go back the other way, look at Nora spawn.
Yep. There's no way out. They're trapped. The thing is, do they realize that they're trapped? If they try to cut noise, there's enough info that Scary Shark is getting to let them know that they're not flipping.
Another molly.
Oh, what a mess. This is very quickly falling apart. I'd love to see Scary Shark start to take some of the space here. But, yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, we've got a mess now. She knows. Oh, she knows!
Whoa! What was that clutch from Avery?
The Red Bull clutch for Oomfies.
It was insane, Doug. All 3 members on site. It was something I was praising YFP about. Their retake. The way that they approached it as a team. But it was something that you shouted. That flank from Scary Shark was way too late. It made it obvious at the very last moments. Oh my goodness.
They're still in this fight, and I thought we were watching Oomfies kind of fold and maybe kind of fall apart and send us to bind, but I'm not allowed to fire up under anyone.
It's just a stolen round. I can't say it any other way.
Corrupt, careful. There's a lot of presence this way, and Corrupt can't find safe passage out.
That's the fire that you were talking about, Doug. That's you just see it. The confidence in the swing, the hype.
Carry not connecting on the ult there. And that might be for the best, given that she's 0 for 2 on those fights.
What was it aimed towards Scary Shark? That's the question.
It wasn't. That might be the kryptonite, yeah.
Right?
I don't think YFP.
It's just a save.
They kind of have to save here, yeah.
I mean, the picks that were gotten from Oomfies going into the site were off of basically no utility gathered. I mean, look at how many sets of utility are still here. You still have 2 vulnerables, 3 vulnerables. I mean, apart from Carrie just using one of hers. You have the one from Avery. You have 2 shock darts from Terror still up for the post plant. You got a Viper Molly, a Viper Wall. You know, like, it's just.
Yeah, there's no way in.
That's the worst. That's the worst way to lose a round if you're, one of the players that has to go for the retake. Oh, they got into sight without using anything. Great.
Awesome. Love that. Yeah.
Great.
I think there's a real threat here for YFP, and I think for as much as the maps have been close, and even this has been kind of a little bit tit for tat, YFP have a couple of things they need to solve here, Dre.
I think a complete confidence thing as well. You know, like YFP before losing to Shopify were on a 12-game win streak. And oftentimes it's tough for teams to bounce back, once they've received their first loss in a while.
Yeah.
And especially with the way that you went into the first map, being up so much and losing again, all of a sudden you start feeling this immense amount of pressure and the stakes start getting to you. And Oomfies on the other side, they're chilling. They know that they got away with a stolen map.
I think there's something about being able to play loose as well. And, we talk about this a lot, but there is a benefit to being the underdog.
Yeah.
And it seems like right now, Oomfies are very comfortable.
What's even more impressive is, we were asking, specifically you were asking, like, who's the coach of Oomfies? And then we find out, they don't have a coach. It's impressive, this team's teamwork and their chemistry without having, somebody behind the scenes like that kind of orchestrating all the strategy along with it.
The knife goes out. Gonna buy a little bit of time, but Oomfies have gotten all the space they could possibly want and then some. Carry's so far up. Still has a vulnerable too. Avery off the ult is going to want to take this fight.
He has to.
That's exactly what they do. No kill found, but info gathered, if nothing else. And now the Thrash. Carry's dead. There's nowhere to go. One by one, the bricks of the attack slowly start to fall apart. Panda and Terror, the two that remain, but Terror has ult. And waits! Off the first tap, doesn't pop the ult, and there it is, now committed. And it's all buying time. Still not halved. But I don't know that there are shocks. I think the defuse is going to be able to come through, yeah, with ample time. YFP punch back.
Just an extremely awkward plant spot, to be honest. It's in the middle of sight, not even on a corner or anything. I don't know. Maybe it's a set thing that Oomfies has. Maybe they like to plant there. I don't know. I think it's tough, but the retake from YFP looking way better this time. Obviously, not being 1v4 will be good for your mental. That'll help out quite a bit.
Yep.
And hopefully it brings back some confidence for, you know, them to understand that, okay, our retakes do work. We just got to make sure that we're doing this cleanly.
Guns on both sides. Elaborate with the ult. And the drone slowly creeping forward. No real interest in space anywhere else on the map for the attack.
Yeah. Right now, YFP, they might have to back up off of this A side if it's a full execute from Oomfies. There's only 2 members here. Lockdown isn't even close to being in play, and you have your Reyna and Viper on the complete other side of the map. Oomfies are taking way too long right now, Doug.
What will YFP do with this little window of time that they have? Now starting to push the matter a little bit as we see the second set of refreshable utility dropped. The capsule through Corrupt's in a really nice spot. Just enough to get rid of the capsule. Shield now gone. 5v5 retake for this site. And again, remember, Elaborate has their ult. Depending on how it's played, Avery, I thought was going to get the best of Corrupt there, but kind of caught. Blindsided. They might be able to hold on to this. As the lockdown goes through, the space has to be given up. And now they can try to take some of these fights, but with the defuse already 3/4 of the way through, they've got to win these fights. They got to get them off of it. And the defuse comes through. We're tied at 9.
Was it Thrash or Dizzy the whole time on him? I think Corrupt just dropped Wingman. Sorry, I said every single ability of Gecko. But it was the Wingman that was on the spike the entire way through while that fight was happening. Maybe there was a lineup or something of the sorts from the side of Oomfies, but just didn't connect and didn't take out the Wingman.
I guess, yeah.
That's such a tough round to lose if you're Oomfies. Bro, what is happening?
Op in the hands of Elaborate.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't know after a loss like that, like, how do you approach this next round?
I guess you go up mid to B. That being said, it's just a bait breaking the Killjoy turret. That'll relieve some pressure on the actual A site. But the post plants at A haven't really been working too well for Oomfies.
That's a big pick.
Yeah, the defensive op finally coming out into play. A lot of times when players, when teams run this type of composition with the Reyna, no one really ops. Everyone wants to just rifle. And in reality, anybody on your team can op.
Oh, look at Spawn.
On a map like this.
Look at Spawn. Panday was so far in their spawn. Now Vipers have been traded. They're going to continue to push back towards A, but they're not really turning around. Panday was still back there.
I think footsteps were heard as well. Oh, no, they weren't. So the flank, it should be free.
They don't know. Panday falls. The ult invested. What can Avery do? A 1v2. They're going to push their way through. Marceline is ult. Scary Shark has full utility. So does Marceline. Avery's dead. That's another round the way of YFP.
Yeah, utility not required at all. The fast flank there, pushing through B, understanding that Oomfies haven't really been working that side of the map. It's kind of been show and go. You know, there's been no B pressure at all in the last 3 rounds. So it's something that you can read into, and I'm glad that YFP did. They understand what the gaps are right now in the attacking side. And they're taking full advantage of that. And that operator, I think it gets saved into the next round. Yeah, Elaborate will still have that online and available. Getting 2 kills that round with it. Now you have so many good ults to work with on this defensive side. Yeah, at the KO ultimate for the retake, you got Viper's Pit. If you want to invest it aggressively, you can.
Oh, that almost goes the way of Elaborate, but a really nice shot from Panday there.
That was insane. To do that to an Opera that is jump peeking you.
Yeah.
Your reaction time has got to be so quick. Or your crosshair placement was just on point.
Speaking of crosshair placement, Marceline there almost landing a death blow.
Threaded needle there.
There's an interesting spot here for Oomfies. Panday's on the other side of the map. Gonna get tagged by the knife. But you see it's the KJ. So do they read off of that and assume that it's a lurker and then try to get back? You've got a lot of space taken from Corrupt across the middle of the map. But they've lost all contained. So the hit is going to end towards B, and they should be able to find the space here. But if they don't accelerate, they're not going to get the window.
Yeah,
they still have all this utility here.
Yeah, especially with the lineup mollies and whatnot, and the triple swing back from Snow and also back sight. Marceline's going absolutely nuclear.
Yep. There was so much utility there, and they were able to buy enough time off of it to get there and stop the round.
Jeez. The retake protocols now from YFP are prevailing right now. They're coming out on top. Now we're seeing it. We thought that the 1v4 would be, you know, something that would basically demoralize YFP into oblivion. They brought it back. They're looking like they're in full control right now. Even the fast reactionary play that they're doing, as soon as that knife landed onto Panday, Corrupt, knife out, runs through bottom tube, understanding that turret's down. And maybe there's a window of opportunity to pick off Panday on the rotate. A lot of confidence swinging back into the way of YFP. They're finally finding the groove.
Groove that they hadn't had for a little while there. Off of the molly. Elaborate getting 2. Melia getting another. B is just entirely shut down. A flawless round to get to map point on Icebox. What a response.
Yeah. Great sight setup. Elaborate had some of the freest kills, honestly, for an anchor to get. And that's all because of the distraction that Melia put from Yellow. The jump spot right at the very end there, popping the molly so everyone just gets fried. The one way is up. It's just too easy right now. And then Melia popping her little head up as well, hitting the picks off of Elaborate. It was a nice little 1-2 punch that they just did together there. And now Oomfies, they're feeling the pressure.
I mean, we have to... actually, I shouldn't say this because if Ascend has taught us anything, it's that the map isn't over until it's over. But you kind of got to wonder what's on the cards for Bind here.
God, I don't know. Hopefully YFP aren't looking too far ahead. They need to just close this one out. They don't want to make the same mistake twice. I have a feeling that Marceline positioning might be tough for that to happen though. Yeah.
There's just so much noise found here. Avery and Supercat left into 2v4, and now they're going to have to deal with Rash as well to keep this map alive. And yes, that's going to help. A 2v3 now. Corrupt for 14 HP. I wonder if... I guess you can't really drop the bid here. You want to keep the sightlines that you can, given that you're outnumbered. That's a weak one. Able to land the shot. Steady on the second. Not able to connect. Avery left alone. Not able to connect either. 13-9 for YFP. We're going to Bind.
They stay in this thing just like that. I mean, I for sure thought that after that 1v4, this was going to be a 2-0, and people would be like, oh, they choked, etc., etc. But we will be going to map 3, which is honestly just a relief for YFP, all things considered. It could have been very, very bad for the big 3.
We'll see what they can do to bounce back. As we saw on map 1 and we saw on map 2, it's literally anyone's game. One map to decide who stays alive and who goes home for the end of the year. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you guys soon.